You know you've made a customer happy and made their life better, made them more successful when they refer. Or a very unhappy customer that felt like you overpromised and destroyed their economic. But in a business, there is really only one mission that wins, and that's making your customers' lives better.
Well, Fred, thank you for coming on today. I'm really excited to really get to understand the way that your system works. When did you come up with the Net Promoter System? How many years ago?
It's almost 20 years ago, we came up with this concept of keeping track of which customers you've turned into promoters, which are detractors, and not just measuring it, but building business processes around it. When you get a promoter, you enrich somebody's life, how do you make sure that you thank them and also turn them into an active promoter and give
Yeah.
lots of referrals? And similarly on detractors, when you've made somebody disappointed, what should you do about that? Well, close the loop, apologize, get to the root cause, and fix it. So
Yep.
more and more companies are doing this.
Oh, that's awesome. Now you've been at Bain and Capital now for how long?
Now, Bain Consulting
Or
since
Bain Consulting?
1977.
Okay, so you're pretty good at it by now, right?
No, I don't know. Well,
Not a newbie.
I'm not sure those two go together, but I keep trying.
You're also a New York Times best-selling author. Your latest book is Winning on Purpose, correct?
Indeed.
And then you created this Net Promoter System, which I think is, in especially the commercial real estate industry, is something that we really need. What made you create this system?
Well, if you go way back in my career, I noticed that the companies I admired the most and were most successful, whether they're large or small or whatever industry, they were treating their customers in a way that made them come back for more and bring their friends. And that simple idea wasn't measured by accounting. So I went down this path of, well, how can you measure it, get the economic advantage of it clarified, and get more companies focused on the right mission. Too
Hmm.
many people focus on profits because that's easy, that's what we measure, but
What
profits
we're
can
used to.
come at the expense of a customer.
Yeah.
We want something that is, how did I enrich that customer's life? And if you ask them that one question, how likely is it you'd recommend this to a friend? It gets right to the core of, have I treated them right? Have I made the world a better place? Am I going to get rich? Because they do come back for more and bring their friends, and that's the right focal point.
Absolutely. Um, so you said you created this 20 years ago, and in a video I was watching last night, it said that 2/3 of Fortune 1000 companies are utilizing this system. Is that correct?
Yeah, the vast majority of the Fortune 1000 are using this metric. The sad thing is, most of them use it very badly. Some even
Oh,
abuse it because they fixate on the score, and they're sending out surveys and trying to get a score and then sort of puff up that score to make it sound as good as it can. That's not the essence of the net promoter. A net promoter is this philosophy that every time I touch a customer, I either enrich their life or I diminish it. And if I want to get good at enriching it, I want to keep track of it, not as an aggregate score, but so I can take the right action. If I get a 9 or a 10, likelihood to recommend, I know I did something right. So let's do more of that and learn from it and activate referrals. The opposite is true on the zeros through sixes. You screwed up. Got to figure out a way to fix it. So it's acting on individual customer feedback that leads to great results. And too many companies have just they've fallen in love with, wow, it's a score. I bet you I can manipulate it and hold people's compensation. Have you been to a car
mm,
dealer lately where you did
yeah.
not get pleading and begging and bribes to give them a 10 because anything else is a failing grade at our dealership? That's the
Do you
joke.
do you do you think that a lot of leadership just doesn't believe in the system, or why do you think that they're not utilizing in these companies? Do you think they're not utilizing it to its fullest degree?
I think it's a mixture. My guess is most senior executives understand you've got to treat customers right, and they want a metric to hold people accountable. What they don't, I think most of them don't understand, is a survey-based metric is not one that you can link to someone's bonus and their promotability. It's surveys are for learning. They're not for accountable metrics. They're just too easy to game. They're the response people are sick of surveys. They've been so bombarded with them over the years. So response rates go down. And when you have low response rates, it I don't know if you're math majors out there, but getting a sample to represent be an accurate estimate or a representation of the whole population, it's almost impossible if you've got this lousy little biased sample where only the most angry people or the happiest people are bothering to respond to the survey. So I'm not a huge fan of surveys. Net Promoter is probably the world's shortest survey. It's 2 questions. How likely would you recommend to a friend, and what's the primary reason we could do a better job, or get to the root cause. That, but it's not the score. So I've last 10 years or so really moved away from surveys and focused on behaviors of customers, especially referrals. Those are real things that you can see whether it happened or not, and measure it and report on it. And it's at the core of learning how to grow your business more profitably, because there is no better way to build a profitable growing business than to turn your customers into your sales force and your PR agency. And everybody says, and they nod their heads, yeah, but they're not doing it. And so that's what I'm trying to help.
Customer acquisition costs in a lot of these companies are very high. So if you can build a repeat client, it just makes more sense to me. And I don't understand why companies don't understand that. If I can do a deal with you, I'm in commercial real estate. So if I do a deal with somebody and, they want, I can bring them back to do another piece of business with me, or if they're going to refer somebody in, it's so much easier.
You don't need a Rhodes Scholar to understand that. It's very true.
Yeah.
And yet, most companies, not all of it, most, especially big companies, don't really have a simple way to measure referrals. And therefore, they know it's important to get them, but since they can't measure it, they don't know how well each salesman is doing or each service branch. And they default to, well, customer satisfaction scores. That must be the same thing. And it's not. First of all, surveys are horrible.
Yeah.
And the second of all, satisfaction is the wrong goal. Satisfactions means it's okay.
Right.
That's not how you earn referrals. You got to do something special to earn a referral. So it's a higher threshold. And you got to wow people and surprise and delight them. And that is the right thing for good business people to focus on.
What are in the net promoter system, what are the key factors that drive customer satisfaction when you were building it out?
Well, I'd go beyond satisfaction. What drives real delight and generates referrals? It something has to be noteworthy. It has to be memorable. It's something that they can tell a friend. So I can think of, what's the last company I referred to a friend? Oh, it was a generator company. We lose our power pretty frequently here on Cape Cod, and bad storms and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally invested in a generator, and it's just been wonderful. And the guy he really helped coach me to get the right one. He made it simple. Service has been perfect. It's made my insurance rates go down. He's just done a great job. And so I refer him to all the neighbors. And suddenly, without my asking, I'm getting checks for $100 from the generator company for all these thank you notes with $100. And I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. How did he even know that I referred that customer? I mean, they're a neighbor, but he must have teased that out of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's just built a system. Whenever a new customer comes in, he makes sure that he understands how they heard about him and whether there was a referral involved, and then he keeps track of that. And so he knows who's referring him. He sends thank you notes. He wouldn't have to send me the $100 checks, but he knows that a referred customer is worth thousands. And so, tip of the hat with $100 is a trivial expense, and it makes it real. My dentist does the same thing. These guys have built great businesses. Why isn't that common sense extending to large companies? I don't know. I think they probably have the silos. They've
Yeah.
split sales from marketing, from service, and they don't remember. The sales force doesn't really care how they got that lead. They, maybe it was a great service experience, but all they need, because they get a bonus on what they sell, they just sell, sell, sell.
Mhm.
And so the information never gets collected, never gets really acted on thoughtfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in commercial real estate, and I was talking to an agent a couple of weeks ago, and one of our competitors, by the way, not one of ours, and they had lost a listing to another competitor. And I said, "Well, when's the last time you were in touch with that client?" He goes, "Oh, probably 6 months ago. I emailed them." I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe you need to do something. They should be on an email list. Emailing them every once a month or something like that, at least."
But
And
it's more staying in touch for sure.
yeah,
That's the minimum. But
yeah.
really smart companies, like Apple is one that has
Mhm.
become a real scale success, who understands the power of referrals.
Yep.
They use your time is valuable. You don't really just want birthday cards or insipid emails. Uh, so they try to educate people when they're waiting in a phone queue, or you're stuck in front of the Genius Bar waiting.
Mhm.
They try to find ways to educate you and make you better at using your equipment or the internet. And so in commercial real estate, for example, I'd be thinking about, what do I know? What data do I have that my customers would be better off if they had a simple way of getting it, and build an educational process that makes your customers more successful.
Yep. That's what we do. So every month we want it has to bring value if you're going to email your clients. Otherwise, don't waste your time. Don't just email out to say hello. Make sure there's something about their specific market or their specific niche that they're looking at that will bring them value. And that has been driving a good amount of referrals back to us. We say, listen, I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I don't have enough money to invest, but I've got a friend that's thinking about investing. You should talk to them. We get a good number of those referrals and it's so simple. CoStar, I don't know if you know what CoStar is or not,
Yep.
but it's okay. So the data is there. It's get on there, print out a report, email it. It takes seconds, and it's really that simple. And it brings our agents clients a good amount of business.
I gave a keynote at CoStar a few years ago, so they
Oh,
understand. Excuse me. They understand the power. What might be helpful for CoStar is to make it really easy to pass that data along in ways that help people succeed. But this idea of data is power, really, it's true.
it is. It is. And the thing is, in real estate, it used to be the salespeople had all the power, and they don't anymore. So that data
No,
is power.
information has spread,
Yeah.
so the salespeople really have to be acting in the best interest of the customer.
Yep. And the consumer is a lot more educated. So
Yep.
because they have access to a lot of this data, so you really have to get your A game coming on. Is there a platform that you can recommend to really build the Net Promoter System out?
Uh, I wish there were better ones. I mean, there
Uh-huh.
are big companies like Qualtrics and Medallia that have built software that the big Fortune 1000 companies use. I think they are still too focused on surveys and scores.
Gotcha.
Um, and I'm working with a little company called Mention Me, which is a tech startup that is focused on referrals and tracking referrals. I think that's where the future is. Because that idea, the referral, I mean, it's worth a lot, uh, but it's also a signal. If you're thinking about learning systems, you've made a customer happy and made their life better, made them more successful when they refer. It's much more reliable than a survey response, and it's real time. So in businesses that are only episodic, you don't know whether you're doing a good job if you're really not doing anything for the client for a year or two. But when there's a referral, it's real time. You can figure out root cause. You can take action on it. And I think until you measure referrals, keep track of who's giving them, you can't turn this into a science, which is what I think the future of really good business is, the science of referrals. How do you earn them? How do you get more of them?
Yeah, I agree. What do you think the biggest challenges are right now for companies that are trying to build and maintain a customer loyalty program? Is it senior management? Is it hiring the right team? What do you think it is?
Well, the inability to measure and understand the economics is a big part of it,
Yeah,
but probably the essence is it's this short-term focus. We know how to measure short-term results. Whether you sold somebody, a transaction is easy to measure, and we hold people accountable to that. And it just, people fixate on getting the sale, irrespective of whether that sale leads to a happy customer who will refer friends or a very unhappy customer that felt like you overpromised and destroyed their economics.
right.
Because the system doesn't measure that, and only and all of the rewards and incentives are based on short term, we forget about the notion of, you really are trying to build relationships in business. That's the asset, is a healthy relationship. But we don't have the mechanism to keep track of those, how healthy they are, how valuable they are.
Right. How do you think? I mean, reaching out to getting feedback from clients is obviously very important. Um, how do we go about getting more feedback? If we don't want to do surveys, which I agree, the surveys, I had one this morning. I mean, it's almost every day you get a survey, right? And it's so easy to just not. And what are your recommendations, the best ways to get feedback?
It's very hard to get honest feedback. People don't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
It's just, it's hard. It takes effort to think
Yeah.
about how you really feel, and communicating it. And whether it's a good day or a bad day, the stock market's up, the interest rates are down. This is all, your wife yelled at you. Feelings
Yeah.
are tricky.
Yeah.
I think it's way more powerful to have a specific event that you can point to and ask a series of questions to get to the root cause for that behavior. Asking how you feel, I don't know, that's what therapists do. Understanding why somebody referred you or defected to a competitor, that's something that you can probe and probe and probe and ask the various levels of whys until you get to a root cause that you can learn from. So I think feedback systems ought to be triggered by real events, by behaviors, signals that there is something worth learning, something worth talking about.
Mhm. I think a lot of this is, as a company, somebody leading a company is building the right team. Because I'm not sure that if you have a happy, and I want to get your thoughts on this. If I have a happy team, does that mean I have happy customers? Probably not, right?
Over the long haul, yes.
Okay.
It's very hard to keep a team happy if their customers are pissed off and unhappy.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah. Agreed.
employees are smart. They
Oh
know
yeah.
that their job is to help their customers, their clients succeed. So you won't get good people being happy themselves if they keep doing things that are embarrassing or mediocre for their clients.
Right.
In the short term, yes, there are things you can do to make your team happy. I think especially big, powerful companies can waste a lot of money trying to make their teams happy with fluffy stuff like ping pong tables and beer in the fridge and uh, you know, cheap computers at work. But
Yeah.
the core of a happy employee, a leader needs, if they love their team and really they care about their happiness and their well-being, they know they have to put them in a position where they can delight customers and earn their loyalty. And that is what truly makes teams happy. Feeling like a valued member of a winning team is the core of happiness as an employee, I think. And because it is vital in this flywheel of treating customers so well they come back for more and bring their friends, that's what drives prosperity financially. So when you make employees happy the right way, you're also opening up the door to compensating them in a very generous way, because there's plenty of excess to share. Great example of that is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A gets this as an organization. Their whole philosophy was to make put smiles on their customers' faces. And they've built a compensation system for their store manager. Says, look, we're partners. We're going to split profits at the store level 50-50. We're putting up all the equity. We're going to train you. You know, there's really no equity in this deal. But after you've paid us back appropriately for the building the store and so forth, you're then running a little business. We split profits 50-50. And the way to make that make your business grow is to treat your clients so well that they come back for more and refer their friends. And that has enabled, well, I don't know if you're familiar with store manager, restaurant manager compensation,
Oh, no.
but that's not where your most ambitious B school grads go to maximize compensation. On the other hand, there are a lot of Chick-fil-A store managers earning over $1 million a year and working 6 days a week in a sandwich shop. And what? That's impossible.
Seems
That's because
insane,
people
doesn't it?
don't get the math
Yeah.
of customers coming back for more and bringing their friends, as opposed to all the SG&A, the marketing, the advertising, hand waving that these competitors are doing to try and get customers in the door. Chick-fil-A does it the right way. They have a trivial amount of advertising expense, but they're growing faster than everybody else and have more revenues per unit because they're doing it the right way. Back for more and bring your friends.
Yeah. Well, they're building a good team. How do I mean, it's not just the younger generation these days. It's not all about money anymore. You know, my generation, close deals, coffees for closers. That was us, right?
Yeah.
Now they want their job to mean something. And I think this is a real opportunity for a system like you have here to really enhance this offering for this younger generation and bring in a team just like Chick-fil-A.
I think the younger generation has the right focus.
Yep.
Finite days on earth. You want to use them in a way that makes the world better, and you and your family are proud of it, of what you've done. But it's easy to sort of grab a purpose or a mission that feels cool to you at the moment, whether it's planet, it's global warming, or it's poor people in Southeast Asia. I mean, there's just a lot of worthy missions that you can commit to. But in a business, there is really only one mission that wins, and
Hmm.
that's making your customers' lives better. Nothing works unless you do that. And when you think about it, that's a pretty high bar. That's the ultimate in service to others is, I've got a job to make your life better. I'm going to do it so well that you are so impressed that you go out and tell your friends and refer them. I think you just can't generate the cash flow to make the world better unless you do that basic purpose really well of service to your client. Um, we don't measure that, and we don't actually teach people that the way you make the world a better place is one customer at a time.
Yeah, I agree. Especially on, being in commercial real estate, we're big ticket items. If you make a mistake and you cost somebody, it's not a couple $100. It's going to
Yeah.
be thousands or tens of thousands. Clients tend to remember that, and they're not coming back.
Yeah, it's very emotional.
Yeah,
If you help somebody fail, they'll remember that forever.
yeah,
So I think the key is you got to be dedicated to their success, and when they understand that, you have a fabulous partnership. Most companies, most clients probably feel like I don't really have a partner here, a
right.
profit sharing partner like the Chick-fil-A store operator. It's a salesperson. I think there's a lot of upside. The more you can define your success to be consistent with their success and structure your rewards that way, there's a lot of upside.
Yeah. I think, the team is really where you have to start, right? You've got to build the right team.
The right people, the right values, and then measuring their success as their client's success.
Yeah. I was watching some of your videos, and which, by the way, everybody, if you want to check out Fred's videos. Pretty interesting stuff in there. But it kicked me over to an interview with Jeff Bezos and at Amazon. And he said, I go into meetings, and he goes, I only do a limited number of meetings. I'm always the last one to speak. He goes, the most junior person in the meeting speaks first, and they can tell a senior their thoughts as long as they have data behind it. But it has to be data driven. And he goes, you'd be surprised how often that's changed things that Amazon has done. And I thought, that's a company culture that I don't know that I've ever seen before. Now, I don't know much about Amazon. I was just talking about this one video. I don't know if it
Yeah.
even holds true, but I thought that's interesting that a junior could come in and again, data driven, talk to a senior. But I could see where there's value in that, especially if you have an older senior and you've got a younger junior that's out there in the weeds every day. That could be valuable. Probably not
Yeah, I
common.
think good leaders figure out a system where they can get the right feedback in front of everyone on a regular basis. A great example of that is at Discover Card. The CEO built a process where every executive, every senior executive, listens in 2 hours a month to a curated set of conversations or email chat exchanges between customers and the frontline service team. And then once a month, after having listened to that and thought about it, their job is to come up and explain what are the priorities we should have for improving our systems and investing in IT and changes in processes and policies to make it easier for our frontline to delight customers. And that's
Mhm.
how they rank order their investments. But this is a good idea, but that simple idea of, well, they have to be listening in on these conversations and hearing the emotion on both sides. They've got to see the frustration of our reps flipping through 17 screens to get to the information they need to solve that customer's problem. It's brilliant. I think too few leaders think about, how can I get that interface between frontline and customer that is driving happiness and unhappiness. How can I bring that in a real sense? It's not reading surveys, I'll tell you that. It can be listening to their voices. It can be watching a video,
Mhm.
because you want the energy that comes with emotion. And then a decision-making group regularly setting their priorities based on that input.
Do you know of any companies that are doing training for this? I'm sure there are. I just don't know them, but I'm guessing you might.
It's a great question. Now, I think too few companies are this mindset. They just don't get. Um, there should be. These ideas are just so overwhelmingly powerful and simple and straightforward, but completely inconsistent with how most companies run themselves. Because most companies, when they get big, they have accounting metrics, which are their primary measures of accountability. And accounting completely ignores this idea of back for more and bring your friends. You ask an accountant, tell me what my net revenue retention rate is, which is basically just repeat and expanded purchase versus last year with the same customers, or my referral generated new business. And accountants, they just shrug their shoulders because accounting doesn't measure that. So we
Mhm.
got this monster disconnect between measuring stuff that is not at the core of what makes a good business or what makes it grow profitably. They can tell you, hey, how much did I spend on advertising? Tell you that right away. How much did my Salesforce commissions? I know that. How much growth did we generate from existing customers? I'm not quite sure. I think I'd have to do a custom analysis to figure that out.
Do you think tech companies are getting, they've got ways of measuring all this more so than like commercial real estate? I mean, so we track if somebody refers a deal in, somebody or if they come back, if they refer, if we have a mortgage company, if they refer a loan over, or if they know somebody that wants a house, we can refer that out to our friend too. We track all that and we keep it. And then when we're talking to them, we always link back to the previous conversation about thank you for that. Again, I know we sent you a thank you card and all that stuff, but do tech companies, they're probably better at doing that, aren't they? For tracking that?
The software as a service
Yeah,
companies, SaaS businesses are much, much better. And in fact, they keep track of net revenue retention, this
right.
idea of how much revenue did we get from the customers who were with us last period. Um, so and report it. And when investment bankers are selling and buying SaaS companies,
Sure.
that 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 net revenue retention is one of the most important metrics. They're not so good yet at referrals. They have not figured out a simple way to keep track of referrals. I'm investing in a few companies and helping them who see the power there. So we'll get it solved eventually. But I think referrals are actually more important than net revenue retention because it's that pure signal. I just don't recommend to a friend unless this is a special organization with the right values. They problems, something goes wrong, they fix it. Um, I will keep buying from the same company because I know them. I sort of built my systems on them. So a repeat purchase, they can't be horrible. I'll find a way to defect, but they can be just satisfactory.
Yeah.
But for a referral, they got to be special. And that's why I think tracking and managing referrals is really the most important objective for companies that see this as the right path to victory.
I think a lot of companies are tracking their customer acquisition costs. It seems like you've got customer acquisition right next to it should be referrals, repeat business, referrals, and on down the line.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
asked my dentist, I mean, which of your clients have referred the most customers? And he knew that because they
yeah,
keep track of it.
yeah,
He just knows and he knows why. I said, why did that lady turn into such a great source of referrals? And he knew why. That's the kind of information that CEOs and business leaders ought to have, but they
yeah.
don't.
And they need to let it trickle down to their team. I think
Yeah,
just
exactly.
back to the hiring the right team, and maybe you studied this. What should I be looking for when I'm trying to hire a team that really takes this serious?
Well, somebody with the values that their primary mission in this job is to help their customers succeed.
Right.
The guy that founded Intuit, the financial software company that has TurboTax and QuickBooks and so forth, billionaire, huge success, started out at Bain with me. Scott Cook is his name, and he says, Fred, I teach my people we don't deserve $1 of profit until we've solved their customer's problem, or for his consumer businesses until we've made our customer happy.
Right.
That's a value. I don't deserve any profit until I have delivered for my customer.
Mhm.
That's the kind of people you should hire.
Yeah. Those are hard to find. I can imagine you have to kiss a lot of frogs, right? Maybe not these days. I don't know. Younger generation is
I don't know.
they're
You could
really
hire any one of my kids. I think they all have. They're adults now, but
right.
there's a lot of good people out there that just would not be comfortable earning a living by just giving satisfactory results, mediocre results to their customers.
Right. Yeah. Um, what's the outlook for the industry? I mean, obviously you've got over 20 years, you've got two-thirds of these Fortune 1000 companies using your system. Do you think more are going to continue to adopt? And do you think the people that have already adopted your system will see the value in it? And
I
how
think the
quickly could they
best,
see the value in it?
the good ones are going to, because what I'm saying, measuring net revenue retention and referrals is not instead of net promoter. It's just augmenting the same philosophy that my success depends on when we touch a customer, they turn into an asset, a promoter. Surveys helped with that in the early years. Now it needs to be augmented with real behaviors and root cause. But I think the best companies are just going to make that natural evolution. Um, but a lot of them are still stuck in the survey obsession, score obsession, and they're just going to get frustrated with that and do something else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what you're doing, it just seems like common sense to me, right? It
I know
seems
it's
like,
embarrassing. My wife cannot believe I'm still doing the same thing 40 years later, but it's somehow tricky to pull off in this world that measures business success the way it does.
Right. You'd think the colleges would start teaching some of this.
I'm doing a keynote out at Notre Dame at their business school at the end of the week. So I do try to influence business school and kid
Right.
teachers. It's hard. They don't understand the challenge of silos. They haven't been out there
Right.
seeing how big business runs itself. And for the most part, big business finds a good way to obfuscate what's really going on at generating happy customers and unhappy customers.
A happy customer is the way to go. They're going to give you the business back. And
Yeah.
it seems like a blueprint we should all be following. Getting a referral is the easiest way to make money. So I don't get it. But all right, Fred, what's
Well,
next?
again,
Oh,
your
go ahead.
listeners are probably, what's the practical thing I could do for making my business better?
Sure.
Ask customers, new customers that come in the door, find out how they heard about you and who referred them, and make sure you talk to the customer, the person that referred them, and not just thank them, but get to the root cause of why, what earned that referral, and do that more. And that simple idea of just knowing who's referring you and why, and let that guide your priorities is probably the most straightforward way to build an even better business.
Well, honestly, watching your videos, I had no idea that these big companies weren't monitoring this, or tracking this. And I'm like, why would you not? It just seems, because I know for our little company, we track it, and we know where every lead comes from. Now we do pay our marketing team if they do pull in a new lead, they get paid for it. So, and then if referrals come in, then it goes through our system. But it just seems like common sense that these big companies would be adopting this. And if you're in
Well,
commercial real
trying to
estate,
change the world.
yeah, one at a time. What's next for you, Fred? Other than speaking at
Well,
Notre
I'm
Dame.
gonna find. I will keep. I'm probably gonna. I'm toying with putting together a business prize for business school teams that come up with the best ideas for monetizing the measurement of referrals, because we need more creative minds putting themselves really figuring out not just how to measure it, but how to make money with that. Because until that happens, I don't think we're going to really solve this. It's a software, it's a technology solution eventually, but it's a set of process issues that need to get solved before it can be turned into tech.
I think if a company actually measures this and look how much money they're making from repeat business, this would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, a statistic I think is true. I can't prove it yet, but I think on average, a good company is getting about 15% of its new customers through referral. And that 15% of customers represents 60% of all of the net present value of the new book that's being put on. And they don't know that. And once they start seeing, oh my gosh, there's this subset of new customers who are creating most of the value that's being put on the books. I got to get control of that system and understand it. We'll see.
Yep, it sounds like you're on the right path, though. Tell us a little bit about your book, Winning on Purpose.
Winning on Purpose took the 40 years at Bain and Company and all the work and loyalty I've done, and tries to lay out this path that we've been talking about. But it also, I at Bain, we have this philosophy of put your money where your mouth is. So I have been investing in the companies that have the highest net promoter results in their industry for years, and I reveal what my investment returns have been. They're shockingly good. I've more than tripled the stock market. You won't find private equity funds or hardly anything with my track record. It's made me wealthy. And I sort of share that secret in chapter 5. And I am astonished how few people are copying that. But I do think it proves the reality. When you have a company that's turning more people into promoters than anybody else in its industry, they're going to generate way more shareholder value than traditional thinking would imply. So I think for a lot of people, read Winning on Purpose, start investing your personal money on that basis and watch what happens. Um, I I work with I'm on the board of a company called First Service. It served a lot of real estate based services, but everything from CertaPro painters and California closets and the retail side to condo management and um, renovation for after floods and so forth. But those companies, they're not thought of as real high margin businesses. But First Service has generated over the last 25 years more than 20% return to its shareholders every year. It's better than Warren Buffett. It's almost as good as Apple. And these, how does it do it? Because it just keeps doing this the right way, treating customers so they come back for more and bring their friends. They measure Net Promoter. They are pioneers in figuring out how to track referrals. So the financial upside is really quite remarkable. I'd read the book. I do a lot on LinkedIn. Sign up for my customer obsession newsletter and follow the conversation on LinkedIn. But it's not just, you'll make the world a better place, but you'll probably be a lot wealthier.
I agree. Well, I'm going to put a link to the book on my website too. So we'll make sure that we'll put it on the bottom of this video as well, so people can find it and become wealthy just like yourself. So thank you very much for today, Fred. I appreciate it. This is such great information. A lot of common sense out there that we just need to get put into these businesses. Are you going to stick around for a game in Notre Dame this weekend?
I'll see they're playing Louisville, so that's part of the deal. That's how they hook you in with the South Bend experience. But I'll look forward to it.
I kind of thought you might be sticking around for one. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully your team wins, and hopefully we can get you back on here. And thank you very much, Fred.
My pleasure, Joe. Thank you.
For those of you watching, if you could, please give us a like. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe.